Girls Can Tell with Trent Erickson. Subscribe, share, catch new episodes weekly, and try not to take it personally.
There's a thought that pops up for almost everyone after a breakup. It usually happens late at night, or when you're scrolling through old photos and they pop up, or when holidays roll around and you're alone again. There's a flash of, maybe we should give it another shot. You remember the good version, the we had good times version, the maybe we overreacted version, the part of you that's tired of getting to know new people, bad first dates, and explaining your entire life story from scratch. That part loves the idea, because going back to an ex feels like skipping the line. You already know each other. You already have memories, inside jokes, and a shared language. It feels like you're picking up a podcast where you left off instead of trying to find a whole new one. And for a small percentage of people, it actually works. But for most people, it doesn't. Research on again, off again relationships show that cycling in and out like that usually increases stress, lowers relationship satisfaction, and is linked to higher rates of conflict and abuse. So, you technically can go back to an ex, but when does it actually make sense? And when are you just lonely, nostalgic, or scared of starting over? First, let's talk about why this idea has so much appeal. After a breakup, your brain is in full withdrawal. Attachment systems are lit up, everything reminds you of them, and your nervous system is scrambling to get back to whatever felt familiar, even if it wasn't good. Studies show people are especially likely to want an ex back when they're anxious, lonely, or unsure of themselves. So if right now you're not sleeping well, you're replaying all your conversations, and you're wondering if you blew it with the one person who ever really knew you, of course it makes sense that you're trying to get relief. You're in grief, and grief does not like uncertainty. Going back to an ex has a certainty to it. You know what you're getting. Even if it was dysfunctional, at least you understood that particular type of dysfunction. Starting over with someone new is a giant question mark. And then there's nostalgia. Nostalgia isn't a good editor. 6 months out of a breakup, you don't remember every Tuesday night where you sat on opposite ends of the couch scrolling in bitter silence. You remember the inside joke that still makes you smile, the way they looked at you that one time, the way they got a joke in a way that nobody else could. Your mind basically edits the relationship so that it's either all highlights or all miserable, depending on the day. On the maybe we should try again days, it's the highlight version. So before you do anything else, you have to ask, are you missing them or are you missing having a person? If you swapped your ex's face out and just imagined a person who knows your habits, coffee order, your family, and your favorite movies, would the feeling still be the same? If so, that's you grieving something familiar. Let's look at this from further out for a second. Surveys trying to measure this stuff aren't perfect, but they give us a general idea. One large survey found that roughly a third of exes end up getting back together at some point. That's the overall we tried again number. The we tried again and it actually stayed healthy number is lower. On again, off again couples report more doubt, conflict, and emotional distress than couples who either stayed together or stayed apart. Other data shows that the more times you try again, the worse it gets. If you widen out even further to marriages, second marriages fail at a much higher rate than the first ones. Around 60 to 67% for second marriages and over 70% for third. That doesn't mean second chances never work, but the numbers tell a clear story. This matters because going back to an ex usually means you're just signing up for another round of the same unworkable situation you already escaped. So if you're going to even consider it, it has to be under very specific conditions if you're going to have a decent chance of it being successful. Let's start with the wrong reasons. If any of these are present, that's a good indication you probably shouldn't do it. 1. You're lonely and hate the dating apps. You're tired, swiping sucks, first dates are awkward, nobody seems to get you. It's extremely tempting to think, why am I doing all this when I had someone who already knew me? Loneliness is a terrible reason for a decision. And if the main thing you're thinking about is how nice it would be to have somebody, Not this particular person, but somebody in that role, or someone who was like your ex pretended to be sometimes. That role can be filled by people who are actually healthy for you. 2, you're trying to fix your self-esteem. Getting dumped or even mutually ending something can kill your confidence. It can make you feel unlovable, rejected, or like you weren't enough. So the fantasy becomes, if we get back together, it proves I really was worth it. It shows they realized what they lost. That's a self-esteem issue. The problem is, even if you do get back together, that insecurity doesn't magically evaporate. It usually gets worse, because now you're afraid of losing them again. Number 3, you're ignoring the reasons you broke up. If your brain keeps replaying the cute, wonderful things but forgets the reoccurring fights, disrespect, the lying, or the fundamental incompatibilities, that's nostalgia altering reality. Think about the actual reasons you ended it and the pattern that led to the breakup. If nothing about that pattern changed, really changed, then going back is just going back to the same exact BS. 4, you're scared of being back out there at your age. Midlife dating is awful. It's worse than ever. You might feel like there are fewer options, more baggage, and more logistics. And it's the reason why so many people end up in round 2 of relationships that are far worse than being single. Fear will absolutely talk you into relationships that defy reason. Now let's talk about the other side. There are relationships where a second shot can be healthy. It's not common, but it's not impossible. Most experts who study this say couples who make it work have these things in common: enough time apart to really change, both people doing real work on themselves, and the core issues that broke them up in the first place clearly named, agreed upon, and addressed. Here's what that looks like in real life. 1, real time apart, not 2 weeks of space. You didn't break up last month and slide back in because the bed felt cold. We're talking months, sometimes years. Long enough that both of you actually built separate lives, dated other people, and proved you can function without each other. If you've been in constant contact the whole time, texting daily, doing holidays together, and acting like a couple and calling it friends, that's not time apart. 2, the original problem is gone or fixable. You can both clearly name why it ended. We fought a lot is not clear. We kept avoiding conflict until we exploded because neither of us knew how to have hard conversations is clearer. Then you can point to specific things that have changed. Therapy, distance from toxic family members, different work schedules, leaving a miserable job, boundaries with exes, whatever the actual problems were. If the plan is just, we'll communicate better, that's a no. Number 3, you're truly okay being on your own. This is pretty huge. If you need them back to feel okay, valuable, or ease your anxiety, you're not in a place to see this objectively. The only time you'll have a shot is when both people are actually content on their own and choosing each other from a place of want instead of panic. Number 4, both of you are all in on making it different. Not saying things like, we'll just see what happens, or we'll hang out and feel it out. The couples who make a second chance work are very explicit. If we do this, we're going to do an entirely new relationship. New rules, new boundaries, a new way to communicate, and a willingness to walk away if it falls back into old patterns. If one of you is hesitant, half in, or using it as a test to see if they still have you, it's a clear sign of trouble down the road. If you're currently thinking about going back to an ex, run through the following questions with complete honesty. If nothing's changed except your feeling of loneliness, would this still be a good idea? If it's a no, you already have your answer. What did it cost me to be in that relationship the first time? Self-respect, sleep, relationships, time with friends, mental health? List it. Has anything happened to change those things? New therapy or new boundaries? This goes for both sides, not just yours. If a close friend described the same situation to you, what advice would you give them? The distance you have from other people's stories is the distance you need from your own. Are you craving this specific person, or the idea that you can undo the breakup and avoid the pain? If you're trying to rewind time, that's likely coming from grief. Sometimes you're not the one chasing the idea, they are. Your ex starts reaching out more. They just want to talk. They say they've changed. They say they regret everything. This can be incredibly validating, especially if you were the one who was hurt. Here's some things to watch for. Are they apologizing for specific things or just everything? Can they tell you what they've actually done to change beyond just thinking a lot? Are they willing to go slow, or are they pushing for an instant reunion? Do they respect the boundaries you set now, or do they argue with them like before? Someone who genuinely wants a healthier second chance will be willing to be uncomfortable, go at a reasonable pace, and answer the hard questions without making you feel guilty or making their issues yours. Someone who just wants their comfort back will try to fast forward past all of that. Let's just start over is usually code for let's not talk about why this blew up in the first place. For most people, the healthiest move is to leave the relationship in the past and build something new with someone else, because the same two people with the same unaddressed issues and a pile of old hurt and distrust rarely create something better the second time. And even when they do, it's almost always after a long period of separation and growth, not during the panicky, we just broke up freaking out stage. Walking away for good is not like the romantic stuff you see in movies, but it's often how you protect your future self. Every year you spend with the wrong person is a year you're not available for the right one. It's a year of your kids watching you normalize dysfunction, and another year your nervous system stays stuck in an on-again, off-again uncertainty. There's a very real psychological cost to treating your love life like this. If you're in that restless, tempted space, here are a few things you can actually do instead of texting them. Write the uncensored version of the relationship, not just the good or bad, but both. Force yourself to include the nights you cried, the things you tolerated, the ways you weren't yourself to avoid an argument. Tell one of your most honest friends what's going on. Someone who isn't romantic about this person. Let them tell you what they've seen you go through. Give it time. Tell yourself you're not allowed to make any moves toward reconciliation for 60 days. In those 60 days, focus on sleeping, eating, moving your body, seeing your friends, getting through the day without compulsively checking their socials. Then reevaluate. Invest in something that has nothing to do with them. A class, a hobby, therapy, travel, time with friends you neglected while you were with them. You need evidence your life can evolve without their presence. Those things aren't as instantly soothing as a 2 a.m. text, but they're how you build a life you're not desperate to escape from. So, should you go back to an ex? I can't answer that. I mean, maybe, but only under very specific circumstances. Enough time apart to see each other clearly, real work on the reasons you broke up, concrete changes. Two people who are okay alone and are choosing with eyes wide open to build something different and not repeat the same mistakes. For everyone else, going back is just asking for more pain. You miss them. You miss who you were with them. You miss having a we. That's natural. But the person who walks away from a relationship that's already proven that it's not good for them and keeps walking even when they miss it is a person protecting themselves for a future relationship that will actually fit. If you're going through it and you're in that do I text them phase, you can tell me about it. DM me on any social at Trent Erickson, or leave me a voicemail or an email at girlscantellpodcast.com. Put X episode in the script so I know what it's about. Whatever you do decide, make sure it's you deciding, not fear, loneliness, or nostalgia. You got yourself out once. Don't drag yourself back in just because the past looks easier from far away.